in Syria. At least 26 people have been killed in the latest round of bombings by Russian jets and the regime. According to Syrian opposition activists, Russian jets pounded several neighborhoods in eastern Aleppo, killing at least 26. Moscow and Damascus reduced the city to rubble through air raids. The Syrian army said it was partly to allow civilians to leave the opposition-held areas. However, the rebels had denounced that offer as deception, and in the southern city of Daraa, shells fired from rebel-held areas hit a school. That resulted in the deaths of 6 people, 5 of which children. And this new footage shows the widespread destruction in rebel-held eastern Aleppo. Most buildings are damaged, with many reduced to rubble. The area is besieged by Syrian regime forces on all sides, and more than 250,000 people are trapped within with limited supplies. The UN's humanitarian chief, Stephen O'Brien, has described the conditions in eastern Aleppo as a merciless abyss of humanitarian catastrophe. Well, several opposition armed groups have launched a new battle in the countryside of Latakia in the west of Syria. They're aiming to recapture areas that were lost to regime forces earlier this year. Activists say opposition groups have managed to capture a town and 6 villages from the regime forces. Well, Ediz Tiyansan is in Gaziantep and joins us now live. So, Ediz, just tell us, what's the latest on these Russian airstrikes?
Well, as of today, it seems fighting between the Syrian regime forces in the western part of Aleppo and the opposition groups on the east seem to have escalated. And it's not just the mutual shelling, but it's really the airstrikes at this point that really seem to inflict most of the damage, especially on eastern Aleppo. We are seeing a big escalation just in the last couple of hours. Actually, activists and witnesses on the ground are reporting as what they say are the Syrian regime and Russian airplanes that have been bombarding 7 different neighborhoods around eastern Aleppo. We understand that at least 26 people have been killed so far. All of them are considered civilians at this point, and several others are injured. But that number is really due to rise, because I'm still getting notifications from just a while ago that these airstrikes are still going on around different neighborhoods in eastern Aleppo. But as I've said, there's also ground shelling. We're getting further reports from the regime media, by the Syrian state media, that some of the shelling by the opposition groups targeting the western part of the city hit a school, and at least 6 people were killed there, among them 5 children. So we're really seeing a heat up of the situation in Aleppo. But as I've said, it is really at this point the airstrikes that seem to be at an unprecedented rate, especially in the past couple of hours, that it has been constantly bombarding the eastern part of the city.
And Ediz, what's the situation in and around Latakia? I understand there is fighting going on there to try and take back ground lost to the regime.
Well, in the meantime, there is this other front line now. We're talking about the northwestern part of Syria, that is the Latakia province. There's been relative calm there in the past few weeks, but as of today, we're hearing that some of the rebel groups there have started a new offensive against regime forces in that area in an attempt to recapture some of the ground that they've lost to the regime earlier this year. Just earlier, we've heard from activists that they've managed to capture at least 1 town and 6 more villages as they continue on with their offensive.
Okay, Ediz, for now, thank you.